Hi. Happy Tuesday, besties and bosses. How are y'all? I'm so excited to hang with you. I love getting to hang with you every Tuesday. It's one of my favorite things aside from getting to be on calls with my clients. I love you in this group. I love you, besties and bosses. But I must say, hanging with my clients and having calls with my clients is probably my most favorite part of my business. Then maybe hang with my team, but I love getting to hang with you every week. It's sincerely one of my favorite parts of the week. And I love when we get to do master classes. I love all our lives, but I don't know why. These always get me super excited, I think, because the content just feels a little more, juicy. So I'm super excited today because we have a masterclass that we are going to dive into. We're going to dive into transforming your money blocks into gold. And I'm sharing a unique process that I created. It's a 7-step process to really help you alchemize, transmute, all those fun words, work through your money, and I say money mindset blocks in air quotes, I'll explain why later, into gold, into money, so you can really get out of your own way and really start to shift subconsciously what's going on so you can be open to receive, to have, to create, to make, to hold more money, more clients, more of that abundance. So we're gonna walk through that today. A couple housekeeping things before we go into our class today. So first and foremost, if you did not sign up and you want to get the bonus playbook we give away, so usually when you do a masterclass, we have a bonus playbook we give, my team puts it together. You can do all of your journal prompts and entries in the playbook itself. I think they're pretty great. This one in particular has the outline for this process and journaling prompts for it. This is a process I created. It comes from all sorts of schools of thoughts, and I don't think it exists anywhere else. So if you want it and you want that outline, you want that as a cheat sheet, you can still sign up. It's kimmargetsinger.com/ believe it's transform-money-blocks. If you go to the banner at the top of the Facebook group and you click on that, the link will be in there as well. Yvonne says, she says, okay, found it. Well, it says they're super helpful. Love your workbooks. Oh, thank you so much. And nice to see both of you here. So if you sign up for it and you want the playbook, we will be sending out a replay tomorrow. And I think we have a couple other links we're sending out. So even if you catch this later on the replay and you want that, sign up, you'll get that playbook sent to you with the replay. So you won't get it when you sign up, but when we send those replay links out, we'll make sure that playbook is in there for you. And I want you to have it because it is nice. I think it's nice to have that tangible takeaway because today is more, we're going to workshop this together as opposed to me just talking at you. Hopefully we'll have a conversation, but I want to walk through the process with you because this is literally something I use and I support clients with, and I think it's pretty darn transformative. So that is the first piece. Hey, Marie, nice to have you here. Yay, all the fun faces. Or I say little icons, but I feel like I can see your faces. I feel like you're here with me. Other piece of housekeeping here, we are giving away one 100K CEO mindset and strategy coaching session for someone who signs up or leaves a comment here. So you'll get one entry. Usually it's just if you leave a comment. We usually give away one of my courses. I don't give away coaching sessions all that often because I've been fully booked for years. I'm on a wait list. Otherwise, I would love to give everyone all the sessions because it is my favorite thing to do. But this is a way to get a free coaching session from me. I'm really good at what I do. These are super valuable. All you have to do is leave a comment below while you're watching or sign up. If you do both, you'll get 2 entries. So we'll take all the entries at the end of the week and we will select someone randomly. If you've only signed up for the masterclass and you don't comment here, you'll get 1 entry. If you do both, you'll get 2 entries. If you only leave a comment here and you don't sign up, you'll get 1 entry. And then if you will either DM you or email you depending on where we have your information for whoever that winner is. So that is a great way to get a free coaching session. Yvonne says, I've already claimed that in my mind. Love that, love you. Making me so happy. So I think that's all the housekeeping for this. I believe that's everything you need to know for the details. Oh, the other thing with our master classes, usually my live streams are about 45 minutes to an hour. Generally speaking, when we have a master class, I do run a little longer, just so you know for your own timing housekeeping. This will probably run closer to 90 minutes. I will do my darn bestest to have us at the 60-minute mark, but if you know me, you know I'm a little long-winded. There's a lot I want to give you today. I want you to be able to take this and turn this around and use this. So just so you know kind of how you can time things out. If you're watching on the replay, you can also, if you need to skip past this intro part, just so you know where to jump around. This will stay up as a replay. So if you can only catch us for 30 minutes and you have to hop off, you can just catch back or join us back for the replay and catch that. But just so you know for timing wise. Yvonne says I did both. I love it. 2 entries for you. That makes me very happy. I don't know how my team always selects, but I have to imagine things like that. That can help you win. Okay, believe that is all the things. So let's dive into transforming your money mindset blocks or your money blocks into gold. So I want to give some preface here for where I'm coming from with this masterclass. Then I'm going to give you just a little bit of understanding around how I think about mindset work, because I think that's actually quite important to understand the process. And then we will close by walking through the process itself. I'm going to walk you through each step. I am not a like, here's a 7 steps to success kind of a person, but there are 7 steps in this process. It is a process you can use and make your own. So then we will walk through that, which is also in the playbook. Rick says, hello, Kim. I see you're still being awesome. So are you. Thank you for joining. Nice to see you. Nice to have you here. So the impetus for this training and why I really wanted to bring this to you today is as I'm sure you know, my coaching framework, or if you don't know, hi, nice to meet you. I realize some people might be new. I shouldn't assume y'all have been here forever. So I should say, hi, I'm Kim Singer. I'm a mindset coach and business mentor. And I work with my clients to help them build, grow, and scale profitable businesses on their terms. Big emphasis on the on your terms part. And my coaching framework, what I support clients through is a very holistic framework where we blend clarity, mindset, strategy, and action. So I believe very firmly in the practical strategy of business. You need messaging, you need marketing, you need sales, right? We have to take action and implement. I love manifesting. I love the woo side of things. I actually believe in that, but last I have checked, no matter how much I sit and meditate, no matter how much I sit and chant affirmations, that alone is not going to build a business, right? And if we're looking at the mindset around money, and if we're looking at creating money, particularly for us in business, we're looking at actually creating, not just having to come from anywhere through our business. We still need that strategy side of things and that action side of things. That being said, what I have found, I've been in business for 6.5 years now. I've built a multi-6-figure business. We continue to scale. We added an additional 100K onto our income the last couple of years. I only offer one-on-one, so I'm pretty darn proud of myself for scaling a business on my terms, my way. That is my happy place. Everyone told me I couldn't do that, and let me be a voice for all of you that you can do anything you effing want and make money however you want. And what I have found through growing my own business and making money, and also through supporting clients, many of my clients make more money than me. My clients we had 11 clients last year go from 0 to their first 100K here. I've had many clients go to $1 million, many clients go to multi-6 figures. When I look at my clients and their success, yes, they need the clarity. Yes, they need the strategy. Yes, they all take action like fucking bosses. And the part that I really see underneath that is the rocket fuel for their success, for their ability to make money, is the mindset component. And really, genuinely, at a certain stage of business, and I mean this in a way to hopefully give ease to everyone who's maybe in the phase where you're figuring out your strategy and your process. I get the beginning stage of business. I think not to create a story. I do think that's very challenging, and like all the credit for you. That's probably the hardest phase of business ever. And once you get that working, once your process is working, once your strategy and action is in place and you have the clarity on that, it tends to be the easiest part of business. That tends to be pretty simple. And I would say the majority of the work I personally do with my coach or on my own, or that I support clients with once they're at 6 figures and above, it tends to be mindset, and it tends to be supporting them with leadership and team. Leadership meaning thought leadership, kind of their ideation, kind of how they're scaling, and then team and time, I would say. And then underneath that is mindset. So I share that with you because I think that's important to understand in terms of kind of what goes into making money. Alyssa says, heck yeah, that's awesome. Oh, thank you. And the mindset component, I think gets really, really confused in our space. I think there's a lot of excellent people in our space who teach mindset, who teach energy really well. And I think sometimes it's not even anyone's fault, right? I think so often it's really hard to understand a concept in a little tiny square on Instagram, or 150 words, or how many words can be in a post. My posts are probably longer than that because I'm long-winded, right? It's hard to get everything into something like that. And I think sometimes we hear mindset, or we hear manifesting, or we hear energy, we hear any of that side of business, and it can sound very fluffy. It can sound very woo. Again, I do believe in the woo, but I believe in the practical woo as much as the energetic side of woo. I believe that's the practical magic of manifesting, so to say. But I believe in both sides of it. But I think we hear that and it can feel very fluffy, or we hear something like affirmations or mindset work, and I think it can unintentionally get meant to mean or taught. We kind of get this concept that the way you have a good money mindset is to simply chant affirmations that you're a millionaire all day long. And look, I love me some fucking affirmations. I write affirmations every day. I fully intend to be a millionaire in my business. I believe that is inevitable, right? We write those affirmations down. I coach my clients to use affirmations, but affirmations are one tiny part of mindset work. And I find for most people, if they're struggling with the mindset part of their business, if they're struggling with the mindset part of making money, if they're feeling like they have all of these money mindset blocks, so to say, if we just plaster affirmations on top of something, right? It's sort of like putting glitter on poo or lipstick on a pig, whatever saying we want to go with. Affirmations can work, but they've actually done studies on this. If you use affirmations and you don't believe them, it actually does more harm than good, because we have to think about that. If you don't believe in affirmation, if you're writing, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, but really you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't fucking pay my rent. This is so stressful. I suck. I'm freaking out about money. If that's the story you're actually telling yourself, all you're actually doing when you say an affirmation is fighting for your limitation, is fighting against the affirmation, which means you're reinforcing the negative story or the negative belief. Hopefully that tracks and makes sense. So yes, affirmations. Yes, all of the money mindset stuff we hear about. And I think mindset work goes a lot deeper. And so that's what I want to dive into today. I'm going to walk you through a process that helps you do some of the work that's going to actually help you excavate, transmute some of the stuff we all have under the surface that keeps us from reaching our full potential, the stuff that really has us limit our earning potential, that has us undercharge, under earn, pull back on a sale, not charge the rates we want, sabotage client work, right? All of these things that can come up for every single human being. And I say this just because I have the gift of seeing so many clients behind the scenes who are super successful and who are making great money, right? This is the work we're all doing. And obviously I can't coach everyone individually, but this will give you an idea of how to walk through that. So that's what we're gonna do today. And then you can absolutely still use those affirmations. We'll have those at the end, but I wanna give you some tools to help you actually get under the surface for the shit that really blocks you from making the money you want in your business. Mary says, makes sense. And hey, nice to see you. I also just realized, I think this is really close to my face, y'all. Maybe I should move that back a little bit. Also, I forgot I was wearing this today. These are my dark angel wings. My cousin sent this to me, and I'm like a squirrel right now, but I just, as I moved the camera, forgot that I have my feathers on my sleeves today. So I will be the dark money angel today, which actually will be very fitting for the conversation we're gonna have. So that's a little preface there. Two other things I want to dive into, and I was kind of pulling up my notes here because I actually have quite a bit I want to make sure we talk through, and I want to make sure I don't skip over too much because I tend to just start riffing on things. So a couple of things that I want to explain before we go through the process. First and foremost, this feels really important. When I talk about money blocks, when I talk about money mindset, I personally come from the school of thought that mindset, energy, is simply mindset work, period, energy work, period, and money is actually very neutral. It is just simply a lens through which we can see our mindset or what's going on with us. Just like we could have a relationship mindset or our energy around relationships, right? And that can just simply be a part of our life in which we get to notice and see what's going on with us internally. I personally love looking at our mindset around money versus our money mindset, but our mindset around money and kind of using that as the lens to look at our mindset or look at it through, because as business owners, money is something we are all connected by in terms of that is a goal for a lot of us in business. I don't think that's a negative thing. I think that's a pretty neutral thing, right? That's the energy exchange most of us are using in business. So I think it's a very valuable lens for us to look at our money through. But I say that because I think sometimes when we're looking at things like our mindset around money and we hear things like money blocks, which is why that's in air quotes, or money mindset, I think it can almost become this thing where it's like, there's a good money mindset. There's a good way to be with your money mindset. Or it's like, if you have a good money mindset, then you'll make more money and then get the gold star and you're good or you're better. And what I want to really highlight here is that is all a bunch of bullshit. Money is its own neutral thing. Your mindset is its own neutral thing. Money is a lens. We get to look at and notice what is our relationship with money? What comes up for us around money? What does money give us a lens and insight into what's going on with our mind? That is neither wrong nor bad or good, or it's simply that insight, and then we get to look at, is that serving us? What do we want to clear and shift? And if this is the lens, if this is the relationship we have that's kind of giving us that insight, and we want to strengthen that relationship and we want to make more money or want to have more money, if we can look at the mindset underneath it, our stories, our fears, our resistance, right? If we can then shift that, we can then shift our relationship with this very neutral outside lens. Similarly to if we shift our mindset, we can shift our relationship with other humans or our relationship with ourselves. So I think hopefully that makes sense for y'all and is tracking, but that feels important because I think otherwise it can almost, this kind of conversation can almost get sticky in a way that really isn't intended. And with that, we're talking about money today. We're going to talk about this tool and walk through this process to help you alchemize your money blocks. But what we're going to look at, these blocks, you'll see they kind of have everything to do with money and nothing to do with money at all. Meaning, if we can get under the surface and look at some of what's coming up for you and start to alchemize that, yes, it's going to support you with money. Yes, it's going to support you with business, but you can also use this to support you with your personal relationships or with the relationship you have with your body or your health, right? It's really a holistic approach. It's really something you can use everywhere. We're just going to talk about money today because also money's just fun. Who doesn't like money? I like money. But as I always say, it's all about the money. It's not about the money at all. I love money and also I don't care about money. Like it's a little bit of both. Can care about it a lot and not care about it at all. So hopefully that makes sense because I want to be mindful. This is not an excuse for anyone to make themselves wrong. This is a place we get to be super curious, super compassionate as we go through the process and get really excited because we get to build a better relationship with money, and we have better relationships and we communicate better with people or with money, right? We just get a better result. We get a better enjoyment of our business, of our life, of our world. Okay. I got so many things I want to share with you. Do you like how I get excited about my own notes? So I think the place I want to start with as we go into this, what I find helpful to understand about mindset and about your so-called blocks with money. If we look at the money you want to create, if you're not creating the money you want in your business, or it feels really challenging or sticky to create and hold, or if it feels like as soon as you make money, you want to push it all away, or like somehow a crazy expense pops up, or it feels really challenging and hard, right? If we have any of these circumstances coming up with money, what I always am really curious about is based on a quote from Carolyn Elliott, and many of you have probably heard me say this before, but Carolyn Elliott says, you don't get what you say you want, you get what you actually want. Meaning, most of us go around on the surface saying we want a bunch of stuff. We want 10K months. We want $1 million. We want a super successful business. We want a booked out business. We want the love of our life, right? We go around saying we want these things on a surface level. And if we're not creating those things in our life, if they're not showing up for us, or if we create those things and it feels really slippery, it's like we can't hold on to it. It's like, where's that money going? Where are those clients going? Where's that relationship going? Or if it feels like we know how to, but it just feels so hard and like such a grind, we have to get curious and say, you don't get what you say you want, you get what you actually want, which means sometimes we can on the surface say we want something, but if our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind is basically, we've got the surface of our brain and the thoughts you and I are aware of, and then basically that's 5% of your thoughts. 95% of your thoughts, if you think about an iceberg, this is the whole iceberg that's under the water. Those are your subconscious thoughts that we aren't aware of on a day-to-day basis. That is what's steering the ship for you as a human, in business, with your money. So if you say you want 10K months and it's feeling really hard, or every time you make 10K, like, oops, there it goes, or no matter what you do, you can't seem to make it. You might say you want 10K months, but subconsciously, you're getting what you actually want, which means there's probably something under the surface that doesn't want 10K months more than you consciously say you want it. I'm gonna give, hi Laura, nice to have you here. And all the hearts back to you. Let me know if this is making sense, and I'll explain this in a couple different ways. But for example, let's go with being fully booked, because I think that's something most people want. Let's say you want to be fully booked, and let's say you want a 6-figure business, right? 6-figure a year. And that's what you say you want, that's what you say you want, that's what you say you want. But let's say the 95% of the iceberg that's under the water, under the surface, has a bunch of stories and has a bunch of fears that if you make 6 figures a year, you're gonna have to work all the time, and you're gonna be super responsible, and all of your family members are gonna be calling you up, asking you for money, or it's gonna be a lot of hard work. You probably don't want to make 6 figures and be fully booked more than you say you do, right? If that's subconsciously under the surface. Or let's say you want the 10K, the infamous 10K months, right? Let's say you want to make 10K months, but you have a experience that tells you every time you make 10K, let's say clients just go away and it's really hard to hold on to. But let's say you actually underneath the surface are really worried that you're going to be super responsible for client results and they're not going to get the results that they want and they're going to hate you and they're going to say mean things to you. And let's say there's a lot of noise there, right? Like when you make money, when you have success, people are going to say a bunch of mean things to you. You probably don't want to make 10K months subconsciously more than you do want, more than you say you want them, right? So you don't get what you say you want, you get what you actually want. What you probably actually want then is to not have to make any money and deal with any of that noise, right? Is this tracking? Hopefully this is making sense for everyone. And so this is a concept not to make anyone wrong, not to be like, oh my gosh, if you're not making the money you want, it's your fault and you deserve it. This is not where we're going with this at all, right? This is challenging stuff. This is just to help us all see. This is just how the brain is wired. Our brain, I say this all the time, your brain is not designed for success and to make wild amounts of money. Your brain is designed to keep you safe and alive and to essentially procreate so that you can evolve the species along, right? It is designed to avoid pain, seek comfort, stay alive. And so because of that, we have a bunch of funky patterns and funky things we do, very silly things our brain does that aren't in alignment for growing a business, that aren't in alignment for scaling our income. And so we have to understand these things so we can actually work with our brain. So we can actually do the mindset work that isn't consciously saying, this is why affirmations alone, as much as I love affirmations, I'm not hating on them, but this is why affirmations alone sometimes don't work, because if we're just on the surface saying, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, but the 95% of the iceberg underneath is saying, fuck that shit. People who make a lot of money are assholes and I hate them, right? You don't want $1 million more than you want to make it. Let's do the brain exploding. Bernadette says, evening, I've caught you live. Woohoo. Yay, I love getting to see y'all live. Thank you all for being here. And thank you for chiming in and giving the feedback as well, because that helps me to know that this is making sense. By the way, y'all, if you have questions or if anything isn't tracking, leave questions, leave comments. I'll circle back around to them, available for all of that. So this is really important to see because, again, I heart affirmations, but if we can see now, if we're just saying those affirmations, if we're just consciously saying the thing we want and we're not getting what we want, that's simply probably because your brain is doing its job. Your brain, that means you're so smart. That means you're like wicked smart and you're an amazing human. You have an amazing functioning brain and it's just doing exactly what it's designed to do, which is to keep you safe, keep you alive, keep you connected and a part of the tribe, right? And it just means that you're getting what you actually want. And so this is not necessarily the process we're going through today, but I think it's just helpful. It will apply to the process so you understand why I'm having you go through certain things in the process. And I want you to notice this because I always find, just as a side journaling question, I just find it so helpful to look at if you're saying you want something in your business, if you're saying you want the 10K months and you're not getting it, to look at how is that serving you literally? Like why does it feel good to not make that money, and not as a way to make yourself wrong, just to see what that payoff is. Now I'm going to give one side note here, one side tangent that feels very important. Results take time, right? The strategy action piece that we talked about at the beginning, the clarity piece that we talked about at the beginning, we have to also be mindful that if you're saying you want 10K months and you're saying that and then tomorrow 10K months don't show up, that doesn't necessarily mean subconsciously you don't want 10K months and that you're blocked. That could also just mean that we live in a 3D reality and world where action takes time to compound and results take time. So I want everyone to be very mindful, because I don't get to individually coach everyone and say, hey, some of this is just normal, things take time. To be mindful as you're working through mindset work, and not to use mindset work now as a way to actually sabotage something that's working very well, right? That becomes its own like fucked up mindset block. Results simply take time. I think we need to look more at what is our relationship with the goal? What is your relationship with money? And how is that showing up for you? And is that what you say you want, or is it what you actually want? That's the piece we want to get curious about. Yvonne says, I need to have a strong talk with my brain. Girl, I have to have strong talk with my brain every day. I don't know if you all can see it. You probably can't see it under my desk here, but my little notebook, I go through notebooks. I literally order them in bulk because I talk to my brain every day. So you and me both every day, all day long. Lilith says it's super helpful. I've heard these concepts before, but the way you explained it just hits home. Discovered some new new awareness fears that's holding back. Thank you. So happy to hear that. And I'm glad that it's resonating. Mary says, I love that you added that. Thank you. And so glad this is landing. Yeah, and I think that's just helpful to see. These aren't new concepts, right? Like this is not to like, I think just to like simplify it, like we all just get to see, because I think this is where money mindset gets confusing. I think sometimes we think there's like the secret money mindset hack that if you like know this one practice where you like do this practice under the full moon with your crystals charged and you like rub your belly and you twirl around 3 times and you like throw your hands in the air and say the right mantra, that you will become a millionaire. And that shit will work if you believe it works. Like that's kind of the whole secret with mindset. Whatever you believe to be true is true. But I also want us to see a lot of this is very simple. It's stuff you all know. It's simply looking at how are we designed as humans? How does our brain work? And then how can we look at that through the lens of mindset and then through the goals we want? And then if you do believe in the universe and if you do believe in energy, right? We just want to really get clear that we're communicating what we actually want to the universe energetically, where most of us are just not aware that what we're communicating with the universe, right? When we're doing our crazy rituals, I have mine as well. So I'm not actually making fun. I do a lot of those things, minus the twirls. But that we're mindful that we're communicating with the universe, that we're communicating with money. If we believe money is energy, that we're communicating what we actually want, not what we think we want or not what we say we want. Rick says, the affirmations work, as Kim is saying, is true. But unlike The Secret, you have to do the work to get your affirmation to come true. I'm known that this is what Kim is driving at. Pardon, it scrolled up. Pardon the pun. I've been doing my affirmations for a couple of years and they're coming to fruition. I love hearing that. And it's so fun this is what's fun, y'all. And then I will get back on track, I promise. But because I think that's such a great comment. Yes, to what Rick is saying, we have to do the work, and the work is both the mindset work that we're going to dive into, the real mindset work, and then the practical work, right? Especially in business, right? You can manifest money you have to do the mindset work, but without doing the practical work, right? You can have a check show up from nowhere. I literally had a client do some of the mindset work recently, and she found an account she didn't even realize she had that had $10,000 in it, right? You can manifest surprise money like that. But if we're looking at creating money through your business, which most of us are, right? Most of us are not just wanting to manifest a random check that shows up or like finding $100 in the street, though that is fun. That has happened to me and my husband, right? That's cool. But most of us are looking to create consistent, reliable income through our business as the channel. And that does require some practical strategy, some practical action to, I think, what Rick is talking about. And there is practical mindset work, which is what we're going to talk about. It doesn't have to be hard and heavy, but that is the work that is necessary. Let's see here. Mary says, I was starting to think I'm going to be in a good place with my mindset, but things aren't happening as quickly as I want. Oh, hold on. So maybe I'm not as good right now as I think. So yay, trust the process. Exactly. Trust the process, and the process works. Y'all know, I don't know if you know this. I actually think AA is a wonderful, magical, I'm not sober, but I know a lot of people who are. I think it's just such a wonderful program for so many people. And I think the 12-step program is really powerful. And one of the things the program says is basically trust the process, right? Work the program. It works if you work it. That's what we're talking about here. So we talk about this so much on the practical strategy side of things, right? Strategy works if you work it. Full stop. And what helps it work is if you work the mindset side, right? And the mindset works if you work it. And it's just an ongoing process. And hey, Haley, for some reason it told me you were here. Did I go away? There we go. Okay, let me get back on track, because otherwise, y'all, this won't be 90 minutes. This will be 3 hours, because I am a chatty Cathy. But I want us to understand that piece, because it is very important, because that's what I want you to understand when we're looking at mindset work, because otherwise I think we do get really frustrated with ourselves. And I think it's just simply not making yourself wrong and seeing all of us are humans. This is simply the way the human brain is designed. And our work all the time is just to keep getting curious about, okay, what am I saying I want? What is that 5% of the iceberg above the water? Great. And if that's not showing up, or if my relationship with money is sticky, or if my relationship with my business is sticky, then what is the 95% under the water that is what I actually want? Like, how am I getting what I actually want? And I think it's actually really empowering, because we get to start to see you always get what you actually want. You always, always, always get what you actually want. And again, this is not to make anyone wrong. This is to help you feel really empowered, because if you can start to see that, if you can start to see, holy fuck, I am so powerful. I always get what I want. Maybe not what I say I want, but what I actually want. Look at how sneaky my brain is giving me all the shit I want, right? If you can start to see that and you can start to feel empowered in that way, then when we start to do some of this work to kind of clear through some of the so-called blocks under the surface, then you can start to consciously choose the things you want, and you can make that connection that's like, oh, wait a second, I always get what I want. And now I'm going to start to get what I say I want as well, because I'm going to have that match up with what I actually want. And that is our goal today and what we're going to be working through more. Hopefully that makes sense. And I hope that that feels super empowering for everyone and not frustrating. Okay, last piece here before we dive into the actual process here. So we're going to go through this 7-step process, and the last piece with looking at just kind of what goes on under the surface when we don't actually want what we say we want, and just some of the fears and the resistance and the limitations that come up for us. Again, normal, human. Your brain is designed for survival and for procreation and to just basically evolve long enough, to have a baby. Like, that's kind of the whole thing, and to keep the baby alive. Like, that's kind of the whole thing our brain is designed for, not success and money. So we have to rewire it, right? We have to work with it. Lilith says, yes, thank you. And what I want us to understand with things like fears, and with things like mindset blocks, and with things like limiting stories or beliefs, on a subconscious level, if you have, let's say you have, no one has to share any fears if they don't want to, or any stories if they don't want to, but feel free if anyone wants to share something that comes up for them around money that feels limiting. You don't have to. If not, I can use some examples. Let's just go with, I'll use myself as an example, right? One that I'm constantly working on at every level is that if I have more success, if I make more money, I'm gonna have so much more work and responsibility, and I'm gonna have to save the world and take care of everyone. It's almost gonna be overwhelming with all the things I'm gonna have to take care of, right? This is just something that kind of comes up for me at every level that I have to clear. So if that's kind of let's say the limiting block or story, and again, I say block subconsciously because we know we get what we actually want, right? So if that's blocking me from the next level of income, it's not really a block. I'm getting exactly what I want. What I want us to keep noticing is when we have those stories, when we have those blocks, we have such a way to make that wrong. Oh my God, I can't believe I have this belief. And oh, there's that shitty belief. And what I want you to see is those beliefs, those fears, right? If I have a fear of making more money because of this story, all of that on a subconscious level, it is helping us to get our needs met, right? I am meeting my own needs. I am keeping myself safe. As long as I believe that story is true, and as long as I think, right, if I make more money, I'm gonna oh my God, it's gonna be so draining, everyone's gonna want money from me, I'm gonna have to take care of anyone. I have a big thing that the bottom's gonna fall out too, right? We'll go through this. I'll get personal with y'all later and share some of my story, but I have this big fear, right? The more money I make, the more the bottom is just gonna fall out and someone's gonna take it all away from me, right? So if that's my fear underneath the surface, and that's how I'm communicating with money, and that's what's preventing me from making that next level of money, right? We can see consciously, I might say I want to make $1 million. We can see subconsciously, I'm getting exactly what I say I want, because that feels very unsafe to me. And we can see how I can have a whole lot of compassion for myself and see my needs. I'm meeting my needs so well by holding on to this, right? Because that's making me feel safe, and that's making me feel protected, and that's making me feel like I don't have to deal with all of that stress and pressure that comes around that my brain thinks will happen if I make more money. Is that tracking? Let's see here. I think a couple of you shared. Lola says, I'm afraid I won't have the energy to keep up with the level of money I want, i.e. making money helps me keep my energy, right? So yours is kind of similar to mine, right? So we can see here, we don't make that wrong. We can see though, how that fear, if we have a fear that if we make more money, right, we won't have any energy. It's gonna take so much energy to keep up. We can then see if we don't make more money, how that would help us get exactly what we want, which is to preserve energy. And we can see how it's meeting your needs. And again, not to make you wrong, but just in this way where it's look at how awesome I am at meeting my own needs. My brain is so freaking smart. It wants to conserve energy. It doesn't want to be exhausted, right? As long as I don't make more money, I'm meeting my needs in this way. Thank you for sharing, by the way. I super appreciate you both for playing, because Mary has here, fear I can't handle too much success. I'll get too overwhelmed and miserable, and then I won't be able to serve my clients. well, and they won't get value beyond what they pay for, which is important to me. I think, thank you both so much for sharing this. So I think that's such a great example. I think it's so interesting for everyone to see too, right? I think this is really important for everyone to see. Notice how normal these are. Probably all of you are like, oh my gosh, yes, that feels true. And notice how none of these are actually about money. I think that's so fascinating, right? Like, this is what I mean, where it's like money is just a lens we see like what's going on for us through, but we have all these stories, right? That it's like, it's because I think money is bad or money's evil, and those things can come up as well. But for most of us here, right, it's almost like has nothing to do with money itself. And so Mary, and I really appreciate both of you for being so transparent and vulnerable. Like, thank you. It's so valuable for everyone who's watching, just to see like the normalization here. But we can see how, like, look at how awesome all of our brains are. And we can see also how you don't get what you say you want, you get what you actually want. So if we're saying we want more money, but what we actually want is not to feel overwhelmed and to make sure we give lots of value, and we think that more money is going to prevent that, right? We can see how more money, not making more money, literally gives us what we actually want, and how we're meeting our needs by keeping us safe and really allowing ourselves to be in integrity and the things, that are important to us. We can see how beautifully our brains are designed and giving us exactly what we want and meeting those needs. Thank you both for sharing. Lilith, Mary says, Lilith, thanks for sharing with us. And honestly, mine's similar. I shared it below. Lilith says, exactly. I still get what I want, just not what I thought I wanted. Exactly. And Mary says, so true, not about money. Lilith says, oh, none of these are about money. Isn't that fascinating? This is why I say it's not about the money and it's all about the money, right? It's not about the money at all, and it's all about the money. So fun, kind of fun that way. And also just fun to see how similar, right? Notice how similar both of your fears and blocks are, similar to what comes up for me. And I think here's what's helpful too. I shared with you all, right? I have a multi-6-figure business. We make lots of money. I'm very, very grateful. I still have this shit come up, right? And at every level, it's not like, oh, I work this process I'm going to share with you and then I'm done. I literally was working this process today. I was walking my talk. I was working this process this morning before our live stream, right? It just comes up at every level. I'm just better at noticing it and catching it and moving through it and be like, oh, that's so funny. My brain is hysterical. Here it goes again. But I want everyone to see that, because I also don't want anyone to create this story that if you have some of these things that you're not going to be able to make money. That's not true at all. It just makes it a lot harder and a lot more challenging, or it can be a lot harder to hold and to keep if what you actually want is not to hold it or to keep it, because that doesn't feel good. So that feels important to say. All right, I'm gonna take a quick sip of water, because I have been just chatting for 40 minutes, and we're gonna go through the process. Probably actually be a little simpler, but if you have questions, throw them at me, reflections, and then we will jump through the process, which again is also in the playbook. So as we go through this process, what I want you to think about is how we're going to really look at, and what I want us to start to look at is, we're going to look at some of what's coming up for you, what you actually want, right? And what are some of those stories and those fears and those the resistance, and how can we start to actually process that so you can process it through and out to then be able to consciously choose what you say you want. But for what happens for most of us is we're not aware of the 95% of the iceberg that's under the water, right? That's what we actually want, that's driving the ship. And we're just focused on that 5%. And that is when it's a little bit like our affirmations are putting glitter on poo. And what we want to look at is how can we start to shift, right? If all of those things under the surface are getting our needs met, we need to kind of meet those needs for our subconscious brain. We kind of got to give our brain what it wants so that it's cool, it's satisfied, it feels safe, it feels good. And then we're back in control. We can consciously choose what we want and have those kind of, that bottom part of the iceberg can match the top part of the iceberg. Does that make sense for y'all? So that's what we're gonna be talking through today. Because what I find happens for most people is either we don't have that awareness, or when we have those limiting thoughts or those fears or the stories come up, right? Most humans, and this is not to make anyone wrong, this is just how we're all designed. What most of us do with those limitations, those stories, those fears, is we tend to either push them outward or we put them inward on ourselves. With clients a lot, I talk about this using the example of fire, right? Fire is a beautiful, powerful tool. We can cook food with it. We can heat our homes. It can be part of a beautiful flickering art show. Or that's if it's kind of neutral and if it's being used And if we alchemize and we harness the power of fire, right? That's how we can use it. But what happens for most, if we're not using fire in a really powerful way, we either put it outward and we burn other people with it, or we put it inward and we burn ourselves. And that's kind of what I think about with mindset. Mindset is this powerful tool, and our mindset around money and our feelings and our thoughts and our limiting beliefs and our fears, all of these things are really beautiful. They're beautiful fire. They're your beautiful power. We just have to look at really harnessing it and neutralizing it instead of putting it outward on others, right? What do most of us do? We project, we blame, we put stuff on other people, we give away our personal power, we get into victimhood, or we put it in ourselves, right? We feel super guilty, we feel super shameful, we get depressed, we get upset, right? We want to find we're going to alchemize this today. We're going to bring it to neutral so you can harness that power for yourself, so we can have the whole iceberg working for you to get what you actually want. Thanks for the hearts, Mary. So what I find for most of us, if we take a look at money and if we take a look at our relationship with money and we want to build a better communication with money, most of us have repressed a whole fuck ton of fears, of resistance, of thoughts about money or our relationship to money. So some of the things both Lilith and Mary were sharing, some of what I was sharing, right? We saw it wasn't actually about money, but we could see there's some stuff under there, right? And for a lot of us, we have a lot of repressed anger and resentment as it relates towards money, right? If I use myself as an example, what I was talking about, like the bottom falling out, I'm going to be responsible for everyone. Told you I get really personal with y'all, but I think it's helpful I'm going to share a bit of a story. I think it's helpful for everyone to see kind of how to use this tool. I'm married now. I'm in a beautiful relationship. We've been together for 8 years this fall, but about 15 years ago, I was in a 10-year relationship with someone who bless his heart, he was going through stuff. He had some personal problems, and he ended up essentially spending $10,000 of my money, and kind of like in 3 days, and like literally it felt like the bottom fell out. And there was a lot of other reason I know so much about AA. He had some abuse, alcohol abuse problems, not abuse with me, but problems there. And I created all of these self-protection stories, right, around money and around all of that. And I thought I'd work through it, right? And what I find, and this is where this tool comes from, this is part of what helped me create this tool, I find for so many of us, we have these circumstances happen, right? We create meaning around them, and then we create a way to keep ourselves safe. So my story there was, I have to be really careful with my money. I have to be really careful because either I'm gonna have to take care of someone or the bottom's gonna fall out, kind of what I was sharing earlier. And we kind of work through that, we get some awareness around that. And what most of us do is we get some of the awareness, right? And then we're like, I wanna make money, and we've got the top part of our iceberg going, but we're like, why am I hitting a ceiling? Why can't I make more money? And for most of us, I find it's because we have just pushed down and suppressed a lot of anger and resentment, because let's be real, we all live in a world where anger is not really an appropriate emotion, right? Being resentful is kind of not a high vibe, positive emotion. None of these are emotions that are really taught as a way that are healthy to express or beautiful to express, right? Most of us have been raised where it's be the nice girl, be the good girl. I talk about this in my Too Much series. I'm a coach. I studied psychology. I am in the world of positive psychology. We learn how to reframe things and how to take personal responsibility and how to be positive. And all of that is so beautiful and so important. And I subscribe to all of that. And sometimes what this does is have us bypass over our emotions and actually processing emotions that are really important to alchemize, to process, to meet our internal needs, what we were talking about earlier, right? So what happens is on the surface, we've processed all the things, right? We're good. We've posited our way through. We know all the right things to say. We've reframed all the shit, but subconsciously we're angry as fuck, or we're resentful as fuck. We're got all these fears going on that consciously we're not allowed to express, because that would be wrong, that would be bad, that would not be positive, that would mess with your high vibe energy that makes you money, right? But subconsciously, we already know you don't get what you say you want, you get what you actually want, right? Subconsciously, our needs are not being met, and our needs have to be met. So we're playing these emotions out without fully processing them, and that's what's creating our reality with finances, or our reality with our personal relationships, or our reality with our health and fitness. Is this tracking, y'all? So the first step here of the process, what I want to invite everyone to do in a very healthy way, right, is to do an anger dump. It's called Unleash Your Anger, and it's literally doing an anger dump. If you're not someone who likes to journal, you can also do this through a physical way of getting out your anger. Now, I want to say a couple things here that are very important. We are doing this in a conscious setting where you're sitting down consciously to process your anger, because we have to process anger through and out. For anyone who knows David Hawkins' work, he wrote Letting Go. He has the emotional kind of energy vibration scale. And I think it's actually very helpful to understand. It goes through the different emotions, and essentially to move up the emotional ladder, we kind of can't bypass or jump. And so kind of at the bottom is like depression and hopelessness. And at the top might be like ecstasy, joy, like enlightenment. And then kind of in the middle is anger, right? We can't jump from depression, from sadness, all the way up to ecstasy. We would be bypassing a lot of emotions, but that's what most of us consciously try to do, right? We're depressed, we're sad, we're frustrated, and we try to bypass the whole middle chunk of emotion to jump up to like, I'm joyful and happy and positive. Except for subconsciously, all that's still there. And when we can actually allow ourselves to move up the emotional scale and process them, that's how we actually get to authentic emotion, higher on the scale. Anger and resentment, that's why I use the fire example. If we utilize them instead of putting them outward or instead of putting them inward, right? Anger on other people, anger at ourselves. That's what most of us do, right? Resentment at other people, resentment at ourselves. If we can instead process it in a way where we're using this as a tool, we can alchemize it and we can process through it so we actually can release it to move up the emotional ladder and scale, instead of subconsciously staying stuck, putting that anger outwards, putting that anger inwards, right? Where we're getting what we actually want, not what we say we want. So that's why I want you to start with unleashing your anger and resentment. It could also be your fears. A fear dump is great too, but I find for a lot of us, we have a lot of repressed anger there because, we're the good girls, we're the good guys, we're the good people. And a couple things here I want to say. So we're doing this in a conscious setting. This is very different than flying off the handle and getting angry at someone, right? That is putting the anger outwards, or beating up on yourself and making yourself wrong without even knowing when you're like out like in your day. That's putting your anger inwards. We're getting pen to paper, or we're very consciously processing this out physically because we're intentionally processing it through and out. And we're also going to move through this as a process. There are 6 more steps I'm going to walk you through here, because what I don't want you to do either is we're also not staying stuck in anger. The goal of this is not now be a fucking angry human and anger out on other people, anger at yourself. The goal of this here is, it's likely if you're feeling anger or resentment, it's already there. It's the under the iceberg, right? It's already fucking running the show. So what we want to do, right? And it's running the show because subconsciously that is meeting a need of yours. If we don't meet that need and we don't process that, we can't get to the top of the iceberg. We can't get to what you say you want. We can't get to the higher level emotions and affirmations because you're going to keep needing to meet those needs subconsciously. Lila says, I love dancing to get it out. Yvonne says, I vote for a rage room and hatchet throwing. I mean, I'm all for that because I was going to say, you can unleash your anger and write this out. That's my favorite way to do it. And I will literally write, I'm so fucking pissed, that I'm so angry, that I'm so resentful. And I know that sounds so negative, but it's so healthy when it's done in that way, because it was a Carl Jung, until you make the unconscious conscious, you will call it fate, something like that. Carolyn Elliott, same person we spoke about at the beginning. She's the one who created the fear inventory, which is a little similar, which is similar to doing an anger dump. And it's this whole idea here. All of this stuff is already there if you're getting it out. We're so funny where we think, oh my God, it's gonna be so bad if I write down that I'm angry. And what we forget is, no, if you're writing down that you're angry and stuff's coming out, that's the whole 95% of the iceberg that's there. We're just letting you actually take a look at it and processing it through and out. It's not like you're going to manufacture this. That's not what we're doing here. We're not looking for reasons to be angry. So you can write this out. Feel free to use the word fucking if you're like me. If you're offended by curse words, I apologize. You do not have to use curse words. If you're not a journaler, that's fine. If you're more like you want to do this in an embodiment way, I love Mama Gina's work. She has like, what she like stomp it out. I think she used to say like get in a trash bag and stomp it out. You can stomp it out. You can, if I have a wall right here, you can just push against a wall. If you live near a highway where you can drive, you can scream in your car. If you live near the beach, you can scream. And what we're essentially doing is I really want to invite you, again, intentionally, we're not manufacturing this, but just intentionally give yourself an opportunity to get fucking pissed, to get rageful, to get angry, to stomp it out, to be resentful. Because then you're meeting your subconscious needs. All of that's already there. You're shining a light on it, but you're also giving yourself actually a chance to feel and process it out. David Hawkins also talks about how most emotions are very short-lived if you actually allow yourself to feel them. They're about 10 or 15 minutes max, right? Most of us just don't have the 10 or 15 max of emotions. We have 10 years of it simply because we repress it, we suppress it. It is underneath the water, right? It's the iceberg underneath the water. And so it is just fighting for its needs to be met over and over again. But if you actually allow yourself to consciously feel and process it through and out, you'll find, I was doing this today and it was actually really funny. I got like 4 lines through and I was like, I'm not even upset. Like, I'm not even angry. I'm not like, this is so ridiculous. And I was actually able to see what was going on. So this is step 1. If you do nothing else, this is very useful. However, I want to walk you through the rest of this because I also don't want anyone here now just getting stuck in rage and anger. Positivity is actually quite beneficial. We're not hating on positivity. We just want to get to authentic positivity, to true positivity, not to bypassing toxic positivity. And that's what we want to alchemize first, is that anger and that resentment. And most of us, right, this is so helpful because then you get to look at what are all those stories you have around money, right? Then I can go and get pissed at that situation with my ex, or whoever had the situation, like all of us probably have some childhood situation where we learned something and picked something up, and we're not actually getting mad at the person, right? You're just getting a chance to finally express that anger. Lilith says, yes, not toxic positivity. Yeah, no toxic positivity here, but we are all a fan of the power of positivity. But those are 2 very different things. Okay, so this is also, as you're processing through this also helps you move up the emotional scale. So even if you didn't do a lot more, if you process your emotions through and out, if you process your anger through and out, once you move through anger and you actually release it, right, you can move up the emotional scale. So after we go through anger, the next step in the process here that I actually think is really powerful, we've been talking about AA a lot today. This is also a part of the 12-step process. Again, I think AA is just a beautiful program. And I think it's a beautiful program even if you're not sober. I think just the tenets are really, really smart. And that's forgiveness, right? A lot of part of AA is forgiving yourself and others, or asking for forgiveness, kind of like that part where you have to make amends. That's the next step we're going to take here. So first we got angry. We had our fucking thrashing rage. What did Yvonne say? We had the rage room and hatchet throwing, right? Maybe we get a canvas, throw some paint at it. Then I want you to move into forgiveness. Forgiveness is such a powerful tool, and it's such a powerful tool to help you release and to actually let go of things. So anger is powerful in that we want to meet your subconscious needs. We want to get those needs met. We want to be able to have you process that through and out, but we also want to let you release that. And if we hold on to anger, right, that's when we start putting it outwards on others or onto ourselves. That's what limits us. And so part of the exercise here is, yes, feel that anger. And then I really want to invite you to practice forgiveness. Now, forgiveness is really interesting. Forgiveness has a couple parts to it. There might be other people you need to forgive. We want to go ahead and forgive those. I want you to go through every single thing you're pissed at that you wrote through, and I want to invite you to go through and forgive the other person. For most of us, there's also forgiveness towards ourselves. I know many of my clients, when we look at anger, they don't have the outward anger as much as they have the inward anger. I like blended 2 words there. I do that a lot. They have the inward anger, right? It's turned inward on themselves. If that's you, that probably means there's a lot of forgiveness towards yourself. So I really want to invite you to practice forgiveness here towards others and towards yourself. Hold on, I see. Laura says, loving all this. Thank you. We'll come back to watch the rest of the replay. Love you so much. This will be here whenever you come back to it. Yvonne says, and forgiveness is for you, not them. And exactly, you are beating me to the punch. You are so smart. The piece I want you to remember here with forgiveness, it really isn't about other people. I think a couple things with forgiveness to remember. When we forgive someone else, exactly what Yvonne is saying, it's for you. It's so that you can release all of this shit that is keeping you from having what you say you want, right? Because otherwise, as long as you're holding on to that and as long as you're holding on to the anger, right? Subconscious brain is going to give you what you actually want. It's going to have your needs met, right? It's going to keep replaying that pattern and not giving you the things you say you want. We have to have forgiveness for you. It's such a selfish act in the most beautiful way. So I say that in case there's maybe some people in your life you don't want to forgive. I think all of us have probably had traumatic experiences in different ways where there probably are some people we don't want to forgive. But what I want to remind you is, as long as you stay angry at someone else, at another situation, you are giving your power away to them, right? You are giving all of it away, and they hold all of the power. And as long as you're doing that, it's really hard to process that anger and to let it go, and to then choose something new, to take your power back, to choose what you want. And so even if there's someone that has done something horrible to you that you're so angry at, if you forgive them, you're taking some of your power back, because you get to release that. You no longer have to hold on to that and hold on to that anger and resentment. Hopefully that's tracking. The other piece with this that feels so important is you can forgive someone without condoning what they've done. So let's say, I noticed, because some of my clients have had, we talk through some deep stuff, and I know sometimes stuff comes up and it feels like situations and trauma that are unforgivable. And what I want to offer you here is, we are forgiving in terms of, we are forgiving the past so you can release it and let it go for you, so you can clear that energy to choose something new. Forgiveness does not mean we are saying, I condone this, this is great, I approve of this. We are simply saying, I am forgiving this and letting it go. I am releasing this. I am allowing this to be released. And again, it really is for you. It's not for the other person. So you can forgive and let go without saying, I approve, or I am saying that was a great situation. So hopefully that difference is clear for everyone. Mary says yes, and you can forgive them without needing to reconcile, especially if that wouldn't serve you. 1,000%. This is unlike AA, where they recommend going to get amends. This is all for you. This is literally for you, your brain, your wiring, so that you can get what you want. Most people here are such givers and do so much for others. This gets to be a place where you are selfish in a really healthy way. This is all for you. And that's what this forgiveness is. That also means forgiving yourself, right? Most of us have to forgive ourselves as well. So just remembering, I love what Mary said there as well. Just remembering those pieces there. And some of this might feel sticky. You might have to go through the anger forgiveness piece a couple times before moving on. So just let that be okay. If there's something then just seeing that's just your work. This is not a place where we're gonna false forgive something. If it's feeling tough to let go, keep going back through it. But I think what's important here to notice, I find for most people, we'll go through this and there's one or two things we don't want to forgive. And it's sort of I'm going to forgive everything else. And what I want you to see is, whatever you're holding on to that you haven't forgiven around money, right? Whatever those money blocks are, whatever that one thing is that you're holding on to, we'll use me as an example, right? As long as I hold on to and won't forgive the $10,000 that my ex spent, which I laugh about now, but as long as I want to hold on to that, it doesn't matter if I forgive the rest of the stuff. I'm still holding on to that, right? I'm still stuck then in that loop and in that pattern. I'm still going to get what I actually want, not what I say I want. I'm still going to try to create safety in all of these ways that don't really serve me. So I really want to invite you to look at, where are you resisting forgiving? Not to force it, but that just means that's the place we want to keep coming back to, because we want to allow you to forgive it all. Mary says, I choose to spend my energy making things happen now. Yes, I so co-sign that. Living in the present to create the future we want. Mary says, oh yeah, I almost feel like forgiving ourselves is the hardest part. It is absolutely, I think, for most people, the hardest part. And I think, Mary, this is so astute what you're saying, because why do most of us have a hard time even forgiving others? Because we project onto others what we really believe and think about ourselves, or believe through others what we think about ourselves, right? So if we're having a hard time forgiving others, it's often because we are also taking on some of it. We're having a hard time forgiving ourselves. So I'm not saying this is easy work, y'all. I told you, we're getting into the real work here. I'm not giving you here are the 10 affirmations we're gonna say, and then you're gonna be a millionaire tomorrow. This is the real stuff, but this is exactly the work I do and I support my clients with. And if you allow yourself to work through this, it really is so powerful. And yes, it'll serve you in getting what you actually want and making more money on your terms, but also serve you just in your life and your peace of mind. The more we let go of, the more we release, the more we forgive. Just think about your nervous system and how much peace that gives you back. And if you know me, you know, I believe the more we cultivate and prioritize our peace, the more we profit. Not just because of the fun alliteration there, but I really think they are connected. Okay, So we have allowed ourselves to feel the anger, to feel the resentment, to process that out, right? We're meeting those subconscious needs. We are allowing ourselves to then go into forgiveness. There's a great Hawaiian prayer as well for forgiveness, which I love, which is simply, thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, I forgive you. And I think that's great as well. If you're forgiving yourself, you can just pull up each thing you need to forgive and say that. I think Denise Duffield Thomas, Haley, I don't know if you're still on here, but Haley always teases me because I always say I want to give credit where credit is due, but I keep referencing different people. But it feels so important to me to make sure I'm giving credit where some of these concepts come from. And I think I learned that prayer from her. Okay, so after we have gotten angry and we've forgiven, the third step in the process here that I find really, really valuable is to create safety. So money loves a safe container. Money loves a container and a purpose, but it loves a safe container. And what we talked about earlier at the beginning of the live stream is, Mary says, yes, I can never pronounce it, which is why I didn't try to say it, which is, Mary has it right. It's it's so embarrassing. I really want to make sure I'm respecting because it comes from a culture that isn't mine. I can't pronounce that. Yes, Lilith, and yes, Mary, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is that prayer that I cannot pronounce. I think it's really, really beautiful. Okay, so creating safety. What we were talking about earlier before we got into the process, what I was saying is money loves a container, money loves a safe container, right? The more we create safety, the easier it is to create money. But what we were talking about earlier in terms of you don't get what you say you want, you get what you actually want, and our subconscious mind really, everything we do to meet those needs. And remembering that we are, as humans, right, we're not wired to make lots of money and have lots of success. We're wired to create safety, and we are wired to procreate and to move the species forward, right? And that's why we stay in our comfort zone, right? It's essentially to stay safe and to stay alive. And so very intentionally, the third part of this process, after we've gotten angry and felt and processed some of this stuff out, after we've forgiven and let go and release some of what we're holding on to, before we move to anything else, I really want to invite you to look at creating and cultivating safety. Because again, if we think, what does our subconscious brain want more than anything? What is the need we need to fulfill there? It's safety. What do we need so that we can get what we actually want? Safety. Why do we have fears? Why do we have limiting stories? Why do we have all the different things? Lilith and Mary is so great sharing some of what comes up for them around like their so-called blocks around money, right? I was sharing what comes up for me around money. If I share like I'm worried the bottom's gonna fall out, what is that really about? Safety, right? All of these things, they tie back to we simply just want to feel safe. And so we have these stories, we have these limitations, we have these fears. All of these pieces here, we have them because subconsciously the need it is meeting at the end of the day is safety. So we want to now cultivate we just got rid of some stuff that was making us feel safe. We just forgave it and released it and let it go. Let's replace it now with some new ways to create and cultivate safety. Yvonne says, I think she put the prayer in there. And then Liz says, yes, feeling safe. Yvonne says security. Exactly. I mean, why do we even think we want money? I love me some money. I love money. And I also am very aware that at a certain point, money is just numbers and things we exchange. And like, really, it's so much more about who we're being and what we do with that money that matters. And it's not so much the money itself. It's what we make it mean. And it's what we think it gives us, right? It's almost like it's all the things we were talking about. It's not about the money. It's all about the money. It's not about the money. It's all about the money, right? What is one of the main reasons we all want to create money? We think having more money will make us safer, right? It'll give us more freedom, or it'll make us happy, right? We think it's going to give us all the things that make us happy. And if we can create and cultivate that first, then we are an energetic match for money, right? If we create happiness, that's why you have to be it before you have it, right? And if we can subconsciously create what we actually want, then we are that match, right? Then we can consciously create it. Is that tracking? Is this logic making sense for everyone? So for most of us, a big component of that is safety, and just our brains are wired that way. So the third step here is I want you to look at creating safety. And we can look at this through both a mindset and a practical lens. So looking at and asking yourself, and there's some questions for you in the playbook around this, but looking at how can you feel safe? Or how can you create safety around having money? How can you create more safety around making money, around receiving money, right? This is I think, just some really great journaling questions. And then practically, I think there's a lot of practical things we can put into place to have a feeling, like how can you create practically a safe container for money? This might be some really simple stuff, like I will open a business checking account, or I will get an accountant, or I will look at my statements every week, right? Like there can be both the mindset element, but then also the really practical element. It might be some stuff that comes up for you around creating safety, around making money. It might be, one of the things I really like to look at is, I'm trying to think of how to describe this. If I know, for example, that my fear is the bottom's going to fall out, or I'm going to have to take care of people, for example, if I make more money, one of the ways I can look at creating safety is, well, how can I almost like want to feel the fear in advance and play this out and see, well, if that happened, how can I create safety around that? If the bottom did fall out, what would I do? Like, how can I create safety around that? How can I create safety around thinking I need to take care of everyone if I make more money? Oh, I could set some better boundaries, right? I could hold, like, it's going to give me a cheat sheet here of some of the practical things I can do. And I can see it's giving me my chance to take my power back and to create my own safety and see, it's not that I'm going to say it's safe to receive money. I really want to look at, what do I legitimately need to create that safety? Do I need to feel this in advance and say, oh, I can handle this. This would be fine. Sometimes it's as simple as that. For many people, it's the fear, right? If you make more money, have more clients, I think it was Mary who said, right? Like the results piece, like what if they don't get the results? Or what if someone gets mad or angry at you, right? Can we process that in advance and see, well, what would you actually do if that happened? How can you cultivate that safety and see, oh, I could actually handle that if that happened. That would suck, but I could handle it. Or here's what I would do. Here's exactly the 3 steps I would do if a client didn't get the result they wanted. I would refund them. I would offer them an extra session. I would realize it's not my responsibility and just hold a better boundary around that, right? Whatever those things are, this is what I mean by creating safety. So we're not just jumping right to affirmations, though I love them. We're going to get to that part, but I want you to actually use this as a way where you get to create your own safety blueprint for yourself. So you're really identifying some of those things you can set up for yourself to actively create that safety, because the more of that you do, the more you can see, oh, I know exactly how I could handle this. I can see exactly how it'd be safe, right? The safer it will be, the more you're meeting your needs subconsciously. So you don't need to go meet them in another way by what we were talking about earlier, like by not getting the things you say you want. Okay, Mary says, yes, that makes a lot of sense. Lilith says, I've been confused on the aspect of what to do after becoming aware, then getting the emotion process, and now then forgiving. Then this is where, then that's where I've been confused, LOL. So mine would be, how can I make sure I'm cultivating my energy, taking care of my energy, and allowing myself to prove to myself that I have enough energy and I'll be able to figure it out. Not proving to others, not out of alignment, just cultivation. Yeah, and well, I think what you're saying is the place you've been getting stuck is kind of after that. Like the creating safety piece is maybe the place where you've been getting stuck. And I think it's exactly this. And I think maybe even seeing for you, Lilith, I don't know, but I'm just guessing from what you've saying, it might even be playing out. What if I did make a lot of money and I didn't have enough energy? How can I just see that would be okay? I think it's exactly what we were saying here at the end. You said, yeah, okay, cool, thank you. I have enough energy, I'll be able to figure it out. I would invite you to even look at how can I create and cultivate safety if I didn't have enough energy? Meaning if the worst actually happened, if I actually made all of this money and it was depleting, how can I kind of in advance see, okay, that would be hard, but like I would actually be okay. I would actually be safe. How can I create safety around that? Either what would I do to take care of myself? Or how can I see, okay, that would be hard, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. I would still be alive. But I think part of the creating safety piece is literally going to not how do I avoid the thing happening that I'm worried will happen, right? That almost loops us up back in the old pattern. Right? So for me, it's not how do I make sure the bottom never falls out, or how do I make sure someone never takes money away from me, right? Like that's just going to have me retreat as much as it's, if that happens, how can I see I would totally be okay and safe? It would suck, but I know how to handle this. And for me, one of the things I can do is also borrow from past experience and say, oh, well, that already happened. It sucked, but it was totally fine. Like I figured it out. In fact, a lot of really great things happened as a result for both of us. He's healthier as a result. I'm healthier as a result, right? Like I can borrow from the past, but I can also play that in the future. If the bottom fell out in my business, how can I create safety that I could handle it? Like, what's my plan there? How can I see that? Wouldn't it be great? Because then the safety is coming from within us and we create our own safety. When you can create your own safety, you're unfuckable. Like nothing can touch you. And then we're not trying to avoid something from happening. Then you're not trying to avoid making money. Okay. Lila says, ooh, yes. Lila says, yes, thank you. That's been my confusion and that's super helpful. So glad. Mary says, I love this. Yes. Yay. Okay. I'm so glad this is resonating. So exactly, we're tracking here. So this is with the safety piece. create safety, just so everyone understands here. I think we're all on the same page, but really, really let yourself, this might be its own part. We're walking through 7 steps. You don't necessarily have to do this all in one day, right? This might be, you did anger one day, you did forgiveness another day. You spent 1 week on forgiveness. If you spent 1 week on forgiveness and you release stuff for the rest of your life, I know that sounds like a long time because it's not like wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. But if we consider most of us have been holding on to stuff probably for decades, I would say that's pretty darn good. You might spend a week on creating safety, right? Sometimes I spend a month on creating safety and like just focusing on this part of it. So just so everyone can see how to use this. And it's just like, just part of your mindset work you do every day, but this is how you do the actual mindset work so that you can release all this crap to take your power back, to feel really safe, to be able to create what, like this is how you get what you say you want, what you actually want to match up. Because if you process your anger, if you forgive it and let it go, and you're not mad at yourself and you're not mad at others anymore, and you start to create safety where you see, wait, all this can happen and I would be able to fucking handle this. Suddenly you can want money subconsciously because it doesn't feel so scary, right? You don't have to protect yourself from, you don't have to like put all these things up to not make money. And that is matching up with what you say you want. Like suddenly we have this, like we have alchemized everything. We've got them congruent. They are matching. So now this is when we get to replace. So this is the next step. After we've done all this, when we have gotten those pieces to match up, right? Like our iceberg is sort of like all above water now, so to say. This is the place where we finally get to start to reprogram the mind and put in some of those affirmations and to choose new stories. And so the reason I want this to be this far down in the process is because we first have to process some feelings, right? We first have to release and forgive. We need to create some safety. Now we have a really beautiful, solid place where your needs are being met subconsciously. And your brain is in a place where it's receptive for us to lay down some new tracks, some new stories. So this is the place we get super excited. What are we going to replace those old subconscious wants, those old stories, those old things we maybe didn't say we wanted, but we subconsciously wanted with? This is where you get to bring in affirmations. This is where you get to take all of this power you have taken back, that fire we have harnessed, and you get to choose what is the story you want to write. So this is where this might be vision boarding. This might be affirmations. This might be, I always think of it as it's almost like we've reprogrammed the computer. We've like taken out the old computer chips and now we're putting some new computer chips in. So I find affirmations are in fact very, very powerful. Our brain is very simple in that what we repeat more of, we believe, right? What is it? Is it Abraham Hicks? Like a belief is just a story we tell ourselves over and over again. Affirmations are incredibly powerful. It is very simple to reprogram your mind in terms of if you tell yourself something enough times, that will become a new belief. It's just hard to do that when you're telling yourself an affirmation and subconsciously you don't agree and they're fighting with one another. What happens is affirmations work really well. It's just the negative belief is stronger and you just reinforce that. So again, what we were talking about at the beginning of the live stream, affirmations work. We just want to make sure we're working the affirmation you consciously want and not working the affirmation subconsciously that you don't want. So if you do that other work and you're in a more neutral place, now we can choose those thoughts we want to put in. Yvonne says, a new memory card with more gigs. Exactly. A new memory card with more gigs. And this is where it's super fun. This is where you get to brainwash yourself with all the good stuff you want to input. This is where then it can feel great to say, I love money and money loves me and it's so easy to make money. And I love booking clients. People love to pay me. It feels so great and so safe to make a fuck ton of money. It's so easy. It was even easier than I thought it was going to be to make $10,000 a month, and it feels so good. And I don't owe anyone shit when I make $10,000. I don't have to take care of anyone. I get to do exactly what I want with it, right? Like this is when we get to choose all of those thoughts. I'm just riffing some that I like to play with. So you can borrow those. So that is the third. This is not the third. This is the fourth or fifth step here. So again, this is where we are harnessing the power. We have alchemized your thoughts. This is where we've created, we're using the computer example. We have taken out the old hard drive. We get to put in the new one. I just want to invite everyone to just keep being conscious. If your hard drive is already in there and it's kind of like doing all the like janky miswiring, firing things, don't try to cram in another hard drive, right? We need to remove that hard drive first before we put in another one. That's what we've done here. Yvonne says, how many zeros is that? In a gig? Is that what you're asking? That is a good question. I don't actually know. And how many zeros are going to be in all of our bank accounts, right? When we do this, like those are the fun things we get to play with here. Okay, so this is where we are going to replace, in an F ton. That makes, I was wondering what you were saying. Yes, that makes more sense. I don't know, how many zeros are in an F ton? I don't know if that's is this a real amount? I think this is an amount we should all make up. Lola says, LOL, I love that metaphor. Yay, I'm glad you love that. Okay, so after we are replacing the hard drive, we're gonna stick with the metaphor. Now we're going to take aligned actions. I talk about my coaching process being clarity, mindset, strategy, and action. This is the action part. Even if you are all woo and you are all manifesting and you are all energy, you got to meet the universe halfway, right? We have to take action. Even if that's just to buy the damn lottery ticket, right? You got to take action. If we're going with our computer analogy here, we have located the crappy hard drive that wasn't serving us. We have pulled it out. We've put a new one in. We still have got to tell the computer. We still got to program the computer and tell it what to do, right? So we reprogram, and we have to take action. We have to tell what action to take. So we are now going to look at the aligned action. What you will find is if you're doing all of this mindset work and you're not just jumping right to affirmations, right? You're clear, taking the hard drive out, putting the new one in, putting those affirmations in, you will see, I hear like aligned action. I feel like sometimes that makes us want to eye roll, but it actually is a very real thing. When you're in this place where now you're starting to program your mind with these beliefs and these stories, you're literally programming a part of your brain that tells your subconscious, that part of your brain under the subconscious, what to notice, what to pay attention to, what to cultivate. The reticular activating system, I'm sure many of you have heard, this is, I feel like every manifesting course that talks about the brain talks about this, right? This is a real part of the brain. This is the secret demystified. We are now actually activating that part of the brain, and your brain loves congruence. We were talking about earlier, the only reason you get what you actually want, not what you say you want, is because we're trying to get all our needs met subconsciously, and your subconscious is running the show 95% of the time, and your brain just loves congruence. And so whatever your subconscious brain is on board with, it also is just going to do everything in its power to have your outside world match up with meeting those needs, right? Keeping you safe, keeping you alive, having your outside world be really congruent with what your subconscious brain believes, thinks. And so as you're programming in these new thoughts, these new stories, these new beliefs, your subconscious brain is getting on board with this. It's scanning the horizon for these opportunities. It also is scanning and wanting to look for how can I make the outside world congruent with our subconscious inside world, right? Which is why before we reprogrammed the brain and we had some of that, the subconscious stuff that wasn't serving us, right? We can see how our external world could still match that because we're just trying to have that congruency because that congruency feels really safe. Hopefully this is making sense. Which means you'll notice as you start to, after you've done this process, you're going to start to get insights. You're going to start to notice action steps you can take. Yes, I believe in business strategy. Yes, I believe in strategies for money. I think there's practical strategy. But even that, you're going to get hits for, oh, my strategy is creating content. I just got an insight. I got a hit for a type of content I should create. That's aligned action. Oh, one of my marketing strategies is to reach out and offer free calls. I just thought of someone I could reach out to. And so I want you to notice and pay attention to those because I think it's so easy for us sometimes to not pay attention to those things or think that's too woo. But I think just so you can see, this is the practical science behind that. Your brain, you're just literally inputting you put that program into your computer. Your brain is a computer. You're telling it what opportunities to look for. Those are the opportunities we want to look for to take action on. And so this is a big part of how we're transmuting, how we're transforming those money blocks. We're transforming them, but part of the way we're going to transform them is also to take action. And I really want to invite you to notice, not to just take like blind action, but really to take that aligned, inspired action that comes up for you. And then also just write down, like, what's the first thought that comes to mind? What are some actions, even if they're the wrong actions that you could take? Action begets clarity, begets more action. And one of the things I like to coach my clients around is what's an action that would take 10 minutes or less that you could just take that comes up for you around that meets your affirmations, that meets your money goals. Because a lot of times we think it has to be super hard and complicated. That's where we get stuck, as opposed to what's something literally you could do in 10 minutes or less. I bet all of you have one action, if you go through this process, one action in your business that would take you 10 minutes or less to implement that could lead to making money, that could lead to a client, right? And usually those are the very actions we resist, and we do the things that take 15 hours as opposed to that one action that could take 10 minutes. All right, send the follow-up, send the email, do the outreach, write the post. Okay, you get what I'm saying. Need a quick sip of water. How are we doing on time? Okay, I'm gonna do my best I said we'd be 90 minutes. I'm gonna do my best to try to wrap this up in the next 10 minutes, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging with me. I know this is a long one. I really appreciate you hanging with me. Okay, so we're taking action. Then we're going to receive and collect evidence. So this is kind of a two-parter, but I want to invite you now, after we've taken action, to practice being in the mindset that is open to receiving. One of my mantras that I love is I'm open to receive. I will literally say this all the time. I'm open to receive. I'm open to receive. I am available to receive. We want to practice that. That is a big part of allowing in money, allowing in clients, allowing in success. We're talking about money specifically today. And that is, I think, a really big part of what we're unwinding for so many of us. What a lot of us are unwinding is there's that original subconscious story of it's not safe to receive because it would be overwhelming, because it would drain my energy, because a client wouldn't get a result, right? All the things because the bottom would fall out, because we'd be responsible for everyone. And so we want to see, after we've done all of these steps where we've released them, we've created safety, now we want to practice allowing. We are open to receive. And with this, I want to invite you to practice collecting evidence for where this is all working for you. The reason I want to invite you to practice collecting evidence is most of us, right, the stuff that we are alchemizing, releasing, letting go of, and reprogramming, most of us have had an opposite story or belief for decades. And we have so much evidence. We love to fight for our limitations. We have so much evidence that that is true. And so we really want to stack in our brain as we're reprogramming our brain, right? We want to really repeat, and we want to stack the evidence so our brain can really cultivate these new beliefs, these new stories, these new things that we're putting into action. So I want to invite you to practice being open to receive. And with that, as you practice being open to receive, see if you can just notice the evidence for where all of this is working for you and count it all. It all counts as evidence. Track it if you want to, or just mentally notice it, but this is going to be a part of what helps you reinforce those new tracks you're literally reprogramming your brain with. I personally, I have where's my phone? I don't know where my phone is, but I'm live on my phone. This is like where are your sunglasses, and your sunglasses are on your head. I literally have a note section in my phone. It's just my evidence log, and I just track evidence in there. I do this, y'all, I walk my talk. I literally do all the stuff I'm teaching you, and I just track evidence so I can just keep telling my brain, look, this is what's true. This is what's true. Okay. And then the final step here is very simple, but it's probably, well, they're all important, but this is a really important one, and this is one we love to forget with stuff like that, and that's rinse, repeat, and refine. So this is the same in business, right? Business strategy, I'm always talking to my clients about how we want to have something that we can rinse, repeat, and refine. It's the same thing here with our mindset, and with this process we worked through, we want to rinse this, repeat this, and refine this, meaning this is not a one and done. Meaning we want to keep coming back to this and going through either the whole process or the part of the process your brain really needs. We want to rinse through it. We want to repeat it. We want to do this over and over and over again, because otherwise your subconscious mind is just going to run amok, and it is just going to run the show. It's running the show anyway, right? 95% of your conscious action get to start in your subconscious mind. If we're not doing this work, then all that's going to happen is those old tapes, those things you learned from childhood, that traumatic event that happened, all of the ways your brain has learned to adapt and create safety and to keep you alive, that is just going to be the default programming. So, and that's probably what's, again, been running for 20, 30, depending on how old we all are. I'm 40 years old. Most of this stuff has been running, right, for 10, 15 years. So we have to rinse, repeat, and refine this. So we want to do this over and over again. And then the refinement piece here is give yourself permission to make this adaptable for you, right? You might notice you don't have anger anymore, but you have fear. You do a fear dump. You might notice the places you can refine this and make this work towards you. This is a process I have created so that you can take it and have this blueprint and work through it, but it is also meant to be made. This is not like this is the one and only way you do your mindset work, that you transform your money blocks, that you start making more money. This is a blueprint because I think this process works really, really well. It's what I walk my clients through this, but it's also meant to be refined so you can make it adaptable to you. Lilith says, what's counted as evidence? All of it's counted as evidence. Basically what we want to track with evidence, I'm being a little funny here, but anything that seems like this is evidence that this is working. This is evidence that when I create safety, when I get angry, when I forgive myself, when I create safety, when I am open to receive, right? When I do my affirmations, that all of this is working, helps me make money. Someone just said they loved my live stream and they want to hire me. That's evidence. I just found $1 on the sidewalk. That's evidence. I just, my client who found the $10,000 in her account. That's evidence. Someone left a nice comment on my post and that was action. That was inspired action I took. That's evidence. I'm just trying to think of things. Someone reached out and they want me on a podcast. That's evidence. Like literally I want like everything that is positive towards the thing you say you want, not the thing we found out you actually want, but let's say it's 10K months. I'm just using that because I know that's something a lot of people want. I want everyone's brain to like really start to notice what is all the evidence that what you're doing is working, because that's just going to reinforce these new beliefs that you're programming into your brain. It's also going to want to have you keep showing up and taking action. Hopefully that makes sense. Well, it says, is it evidence of receiving of what we're newly available for? I read that afterwards. So yes, and all the evidence that's like literally, I'm such a big fan of like count it all, celebrate it all, track it all, because it just helps reinforce like the things we want to think are signs that we want to make are like silly sometimes. It would invite you to think they're not silly and to look at it as it's just evidence, because we do that with negative stuff all the time, right? We see one person makes a funny facial expression on a sales call, and that's evidence to us that they don't want to hire us. Someone takes one day to respond after a sales call or one day to pay their invoice, right? And our brains want to see that as evidence that they don't want to hire us, that they don't want to pay us money. It's wild how we do that with negative, right? We're all so hyper aware looking for like, how do we keep ourselves safe? And so I want to invite everyone to practice that, but on the flip. If we're going to be that hyper aware of something that could be negative evidence, I want us all to practice being super hyper aware of the positive evidence. Someone made a slight facial expression that was a smile on a sales call. That means they want to hire you. Someone paid their invoice in a day. That means more people want to pay you, right? Like we just want to like go tip the extreme on the other side, so we can just really reinforce those all of the work you're doing, and that it's really safe for you to be in those beliefs, so that you're not like, oh, well, it's not actually safe. Because otherwise our brain is just wired to notice -3 to 1. It'll stay in the old patterns. Melissa says, okay, that's helpful, collecting evidence of positive reinforcement. Exactly. Yvonne says, yeah, I said something like that, caught and scolded myself for it. Yeah. So we get to be nice to you. We don't have to scold anyone, but yes, exactly. Like we just have to catch our brains all the time. Our brains are wild. Our brains are sneaky. They are liars. We love them, we thank them, they do a really great job of keeping us safe, but they just tell a bunch of BS stories all day long. And so it's our job as business owners, it's our job, if we want to evolve past our human conditioning that just wants to keep us safe and in our comfort zone, if we want to evolve past that, to have wild amounts of success and make epic amounts of money and to fucking enjoy our lives, right? For most people, these are all the things we say we want, but success, money, joy, those are actually wildly uncomfortable things for your brain if we're not programming it to create safety around all of that. So that is kind of the whole game we're playing, and that's why the evidence is important. Yvonne says toddlers on sugar. Yes, very well said. Exactly. Okay, y'all, let me recap this, and then we're right at 90 minutes. I'll just kind of tie this up in a bow for all of us. Thank you for hanging through all this. I know it's a long one, so thank you. It's been so nice to have you here, and also just have the feedback. It makes it so much more fun for me. So thank you. It means the world to me. I love getting to do these. If you're watching the replay as well, thank you, because I do know this is a long one and makes my heart happy. So as a recap, I'm just going to walk through the process here, and it's also in your playbook, so you have journal prompts and little reminders on this. But we are unleashing your anger. We are forgiving and letting go. We are creating safety. Money loves safety. Your brain loves safety. That is such a huge part of this here. And we're like truly creating safety by like not trying to avoid, by creating it safe even if the scary stuff happens. We're replacing. This is when we're getting to those affirmations, those visualizations that we're doing. We are taking that aligned action. We are not sitting on the sidelines. We are going out there because we've created safety, and we're going to take that aligned action. We're going to be open to receive, and we're going to collect the evidence that it is all working out in our favor. We always get what we actually want. And then we're going to rinse, repeat, and refine this. We're just gonna keep that loop going. Lilith says, so much gold in this masterclass. Thank you for this and for the breakthrough. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad you had a breakthrough. It makes my heart so happy. Thank you all for being here. And I will close in saying, don't forget, if you've signed up for this, you will get a replay tomorrow. You will get the bonus playbook for this. You can still sign up. We'll send a couple emails out if you want that. We will pick one winner for that free coaching session at the end of the week. I think we'll pick on Friday for this so we can give everyone enough time to watch this since it is a little bit longer. We'll reach out to you by email or DM, depending on how we're connected. You get one entry for signing up for that playbook and one entry for leaving a comment here. If you are a client of mine, you also can be entered in that. Don't feel like you can't be entered in that. We're going to pick those randomly. So clients now are on the replay. Don't feel like this is only for new people. We're gonna pick completely randomly. And then for any of you who want more support with this, if you want support with the clarity, mindset, strategy, and action that goes into making more money on your terms, that goes into building and growing and scaling a profitable business in a way that feels really good. If you want help with the practical strategy, we are very practical minded here. I believe in messaging, I believe in marketing, I believe in sales, I believe in leadership, I believe in team, right? And I believe in the mindset piece underneath it. We need both. Right? We need the tip of the iceberg and we need the bottom of the iceberg working together. That is the work I do. I love my work. I only work with clients one-on-one. I'm very big on that. You will probably never get a group program from me because I believe one-on-one is so powerful. I am fully booked, but we are opening up spots. We have spots as clients come up for renewal. We have spots that open up. So if that's something you want support with, I offer a coaching intensive and a 6-month coaching partnership. I know in September we have at least a coaching intensive available. And then in October, we should have a good block of spots that become available. So September, October, we are booking for those. I will drop a link for a discovery call. If you're interested in working with me, if that's something you're curious about, I would say book a call sooner rather than later, only because the spots just get further and further out, and it's important to me that we don't overbook so that everyone gets that one-on-one attention and support. And I would love to connect with you. I'd love to hear how I can support you. Those calls are very pressure-free. I often tell people that they should go elsewhere if it's not a good fit, because I think that fit is so important. So book that call, no pressure, and then we can get you set up for one of those spots as they become available. And then if that is not your jam, either way, I am so grateful to have you here. Sincerely, I know there's so many places in the online world you could spend 90 minutes. There's so much content out there, so it means the world to me for you to be here. So thank you, and I will be back next week with another live stream for you. Oh, Yvonne says, Yvonne, yay, thanks, those 15-minute email works. She says, Kim Arget-Singer, P.S. check your DMs. Oh, I'll check my DMs. Yes, if you all DM me, just so you know, I am very, very bad at checking my DMs. So thank you for letting me know if you DM me, because otherwise I pretty much don't see stuff there. So thanks for letting me know. I love you all so much. Thank you for being here. Leave the comments if you have questions. I'll come back to those, and I'll be back next week with the live stream for y'all. Bye.